You've seen it all before. Angry people online, usually obnoxiously typing in all caps, who have done their 15 minutes of Googling and suddenly they are the world expert. They know more than all the scientists and all the experts who have devoted their lives to a topic. Why does this happen? Hello and welcome to Knowledgica. My name is Danny Ward. This is the channel dedicated to learning about anything and everything. We've all seen it before. People who think they know everything, when in reality they know very little about a given topic. Is this just a personality trait of jerks? Well, it's actually a lot more common than you think. You, I'm sorry to say, are almost certainly a victim of this too. The thing is, you won't even realise that's what makes this phenomenon what it is. This is called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Yes, it really does have a name. Essentially, the less you know, the more you think you know. Interestingly, near the end of the spectrum, as you become closer to the expert in a subject, you actually start to experience a lot of self-doubt. You become less confident in your ability. Many very talented world experts and leaders often face imposter syndrome. They don't realise just how great they are. In psychology, the Dunning-Kruger Effect is known as a cognitive bias. Individuals create their own subjective social reality based on their own perceptions. Those with low ability and knowledge of a particular area will often mistakenly assess their own ability as much greater than it really is. Often when learning the complexities and depth of a field, self-awareness really kicks in. You suddenly realise just how little you actually know in the grand scheme of things. This explains why those with a greater ability in a field will often mistakenly rate their ability as much lower than it really is. The Dunning-Kruger Effect was described by, well, Dunning and Kruger. David Dunning and Justin Kruger in 1999 published a paper in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology entitled Unskilled and Unaware of It: How Difficulties in Recognizing One's Own Incompetence Lead to Inflated Self-Assessments. In the paper, 4 studies were conducted. In each, participants' ability in either humour, logical reasoning or English grammar were put to the test. Prior to the testing, it was predicted that, in general, performance ability would be overestimated by the individual. Individuals within the bottom quarter of all participants, which the study deemed as incompetent, meaning less competent, not full-on stupid in this psychological sense, were predicted to be completely blissfully unaware of their poor performance. So what did the studies find? The first study looked at an individual's ability to assess and create humour. This requires quite an extensive knowledge about people's tastes. It can be hard to make people laugh. Participants were presented with a series of jokes and they had to rate how humorous each was. These rankings were then compared against an expert panel of professional comedians. The closer the score, the better the ability to gauge humour. The panel's scores were vetted to ensure there weren't any significant outliers, any of which would have been removed from the study. Following this, participants then had to rate how well they thought they did. The results from this agreed with what was previously predicted. On average, people overestimated their ability, with those in the bottom quarter of ability overestimating the most. What was interesting was that those in the bottom felt that they were significantly better than the average. They didn't just slightly overestimate their ability, they were indeed completely oblivious to their true ability. The very top performers did show doubt in their ability and ranked themselves slightly lower. Next followed the logic tests, a 20-item logical reasoning test drawn from the law school admissions test was given to participants. Just like before, once this test had been completed, participants were asked to rate their performance. Participants in the bottom quarter of ability, again, overestimated their ability the greatest. Those who scored in the 12th percentile on average actually felt as though they belonged in the 62nd percentile. Again, they felt they were above average, higher than most of the other participants. The third test assessed grammar. Participants were tested on their knowledge of American Standard Written English, as well as their overall ability to detect correct grammar. A self-rating section followed just as before. Surprise, surprise! The same results were observed as before. In all three types of knowledge test, repeatedly, those who were the least able in their ability felt as though they were some of the most able. This third test, however, was accompanied with a follow-up study. Several weeks after, those in the bottom and the top quartiles were invited back to the testing lab. The researchers wanted to test whether the incompetent could compare themselves with other, more competent participants and see the error of their ways. Could they detect that those in the top quartile were better? Of course not! Not only did they think they were the best, they thought the top participants were the incompetent ones. Now, this really does explain so very much in today's world. This research paper is free to access, so I've included a link in the video description. You'll find a PDF download link on the website. That's the one you want. Keep in mind, like many academic journals, it's quite dense and tricky to read for those outside the field, but it's still cool to check it out. So how does one help beat the effects of the Dunning-Kruger effect on society? The answer is education and training. If those with the lowest ability and knowledge are given the chance to learn more about the subject, so much so that they raise their ability out of the bottom quarter of ability, then things start to get a lot less extreme. So what training will I be taking then? I certainly fall victim to this effect too, like everyone else. Maybe I have the Dunning-Kruger effect about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let me know in the comments, what are some real-life examples you have seen of the Dunning-Kruger effect? I'm sure there are many out there. Thanks for watching another episode of Knowledge-Ger. Please like this video if you found it interesting. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more just like this. And if you do see someone playing victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect, make sure you slap this on their timeline. Until next time, stay hungry for factuality.